Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Thriving in Motherhood. And in total mom mode, I'm in my vehicle as my children are playing volleyball. So that is just total mom life. So it's perfect for tonight. My name is Emily Burgess, and I am so excited to have you guys all on the call tonight. I'm also really excited about these stories. I say all the time that stories are life changing. Stories are how I came to know the Lord. Stories are something that my husband does for a living. Stories are what brought me to Plexus. Hearing about different women's
Where's
stories
what?
gave me
I don't know.
hope.
I'm listening to a call though.
Make sure
Okay.
make sure you're muted if you
But
can. But stories are what brought me to Plexus. I would see so many before and afters, and I would see so many different friends of mine that I loved, that I trusted, that I respected, sharing about these products. And I'll be totally honest,
Sorry.
I was completely
Yes.
skeptical because I
Uh,
saw that the
yes.
products
You
were
want some
helping people.
provolone,
And
please?
if you'll just make sure you're
Just
muted, that would
provolone
be
on that.
so
What else
great.
do you want on there, baby?
Jenna, I'll let you mute people. You good? Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Chandler. So what I was saying though is I was so skeptical because I was seeing so many different people sharing these stories, and a lot of people were sharing stories about how they were losing weight. I didn't understand the products, so I just assumed that there was some weight loss fad diet, and these dummies were probably going to have regrets for taking them, years down the road. And I was a smart one, not supplementing, doing my occasional walk and eating tacos. Like, I thought I knew what I was talking about. But I got to the point, 4 years of hearing about Plexus, I threw my samples in the trash. A girlfriend of mine sent me some samples. I threw them in the trash because, again, I didn't understand them. I was super skeptical and I didn't trust them. But 4 years of seeing and being educated through different people's stories, I realized I needed something to change. I remember standing in my closet. Raise your hand if you've ever stood in your closet and cried before church, because that was my deal every single Sunday. And I remember just looking at myself. I had two young children at the time, still have two children, but they were much younger. And I remember just looking in the mirror and just thinking, like, I don't have control over sugar. I'm exhausted all of the time. However, I'm not sleeping well at night. I'm not the mom.
Look at us.
Hey guys,
Gonna win that bouquet.
if you'll just
Okay,
mute
so should I
yourself.
take the kids home?
oh my gosh,
Y'all, I'm so
I
sorry.
hate that. I mean,
I think I'm going to.
If you'll just guys, I'm
cute.
sorry. I can't talk while
Vincent?
hearing all this at the same time. I'm so sorry. Anyhow, I started Plexus. I went back to my friend who had sent me those samples, and I said, hey, I'd like to go ahead and give them a try, but just know I'm not committing to anything. I just would like to try a sample. She sent me 2 months worth of our gut health system, just out of the generosity of her heart, because she believes so much in the products, but she also believes so much in me and that I could do this business well, which was such a generous gift from her. And within the first couple of days, I noticed that my sugar cravings were totally gone. I noticed that I could go by the break room at my nonprofit ministry that I was working at, and I didn't want to have the donut on Tuesdays. I noticed that my energy was definitely up. Like, I was wanting to play around with my kids. I was jumping on the trampoline with my children. Like, that was something that was abnormal. I was starting to sleep better. My stomach wasn't hurting after every single thing I would put in my mouth. And so I started to realize, if this is how I feel after being on the products for just a few weeks, just a few months, like, what will it feel like for me if I'm on the products for 6 months or 12 months? And so I knew, though, that if I was going to do that, I needed to get my products paid for, because my husband and I both worked for nonprofit ministries, and we did not have a whole lot of money. We were not rolling in the Benjamins. And I knew from my friends that were sharing their stories, just like tonight, I knew that there was an incredible opportunity. And there was just this like stirring in my soul, this prompting in my soul. Though I was scared to death and I cherished relationships and I didn't want anybody to think I was selling to them, I knew in my heart that this was going to be the opportunity that changed everything for my family. And I knew I could do it with authenticity. I knew I could do it with heart. And I knew I could do it because I had deep relationships, because I loved people. And so I started sharing. I started sharing what the products were doing for me, just like I did here just a minute ago, though it was a little bit, fuzzy because I was so distracted with the meeting situation. I'm so sorry. It was so much cleaner than what it was a few minutes ago. But I started sharing and people came out of the woodwork and I got to help so many people and it changed everything for my family. And so tonight I'm excited for you guys to hear from so many different other women. Their stories are different than mine, but similar at the same time. Tonight we're also going to give away an incredible, beautiful bouquet of farm girl flowers. If you guys have never seen their flowers, go and Google them after this call. They're so pretty. And we're going to give away one bouquet tonight, just in honor of Mother's Day, in honor of women, in honor of you guys being here. And so Cassie, she's going to be our very last speaker. She's going to announce the winner. The way that you are going to win the bouquet of flowers is if you can go ahead and put in the chat, if you take the Plexus products, what you've seen change in your health. If you don't take the Plexus products, what you have hope for in your health changing. So again, if you want to be entered to win the Farm Girl Flower Bouquet, if you have been on the Plexus products, put in the comments what you've seen change with your health. And if you haven't tried the products yet, what you'd like to see change in your health. And Cassie will announce a winner at the very end of the call. I'm going to pass this off to my dear friend, Megan. Thank you guys. You're going to have so much fun hearing these stories.
Hey everyone, Megan Malakovic here. Okay, I hope that you can hear me great. I am joining you from a volunteer opportunity. We have this huge event that we're doing. And I was like, I still wanted to be able to jump on here and share part of my story with you guys. And what I love is that we can do this from anywhere, right? You saw Emily's jumping on from her car. I'm jumping on from an event. There's so many different things of flexibility about this. But what really got me with Plexus is, guys, I was super skeptical. Like, I watched my friend for 18 months and I used to make fun of her. Okay, so if you've ever made fun of somebody for sharing these products, it's okay. I used to be her. And I just thought, I remember watching her and I remember seeing the energy that she had with her small kids. And I just thought, there's no way that anybody with small children could feel that good, because I was parenting my kids from the couch. I was so exhausted all the time. I would be dozing off trying to play with them. And you guys, yes, motherhood can be tiring. Right? We sacrifice a lot, but we do not have to wear tired as a mother. We don't have to wear that as a badge. Like, you can thrive in your motherhood. You don't have to just survive through your days. But I was barely surviving. I was napping every single afternoon, you guys. And this was not just when I had kids. Like, when I was in elementary school, I used to go down to the nurse's office so that I could nap. In college, I used to take these things called caffeine naps, where I would drink a cup of coffee and then I would take a 30-minute nap, and then I would get back up and I would keep functioning. Like, you guys, that's not healthy. That's not good. Okay. But every single afternoon I was crashing because my blood sugar was not balanced. I remember being out many times and all of a sudden my blood sugar would just crash and I'd be like, I need a Snickers bar, right? When I had my first baby, I would have Hershey Kisses chocolate hidden all around the house because I needed the sugar to give me a little pick me up. Okay. And other thing, you guys, I was not regular. Okay. We're going to talk about the bathroom. Was not going every single day. That's also not normal. So if you're sitting there and you're like, it's been a few days. Yeah. You should be going every single day. You want to feel good. And so here's what I noticed when I started taking these products. I will never forget I had been taking them for a little while. I remember my son, he was like, Mommy, come chase me. This was in the morning. This was before I had any coffee. And I got up off the couch and I started running down the hallway after my kid. And I thought, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe the way that I'm feeling. And I started noticing these small changes over time that actually turned into a huge transformation. And so I had the energy to keep up with my kids that I always wanted to. I wasn't struggling with crazy intense sugar cravings. I wasn't hiding chocolates all around the house anymore. I didn't have my foot pain from my plantar fasciitis anymore. My hip pain was going away and I was feeling overall happier. You guys, I was really enjoying my kids. I loved my kids. I always wanted to be a mom. That was my dream, but I was struggling before. And so I realized that if I was feeling this amazing, every single mom needed to feel this good. And so I started sharing. I was super skeptical about that at first, but you guys, it completely did a 180 for our finances. My kids were on Medicaid when we started this. We had $100,000 in student loan debt hanging over our heads. And because of Plexus, we were able to pay that student loan debt off in 15 months. And all the things that I'm living out right now, 7 years later, they were all once a vision on my dream board and they are now my reality. And so I'm here to tell you that you do not have to not only suffer through your days because you feel off, right? Because you don't feel great with your health, but you don't have to suffer through your days if you're struggling with your finances. There is hope. There is life. There are options, right? We were just able to cash flow a pool for our kids, 2.5 years ago. Like so many things that we wanted are now here and they're available to you too if you would just open your mind to something maybe a little outside of the box. So that's my story in a nutshell, and I'm so excited to turn it over to my friend Jenna, and she is going to inspire you big time.
If I can unmute me, I can mute everybody else. My name is Jenna Hookville. I'm from South Florida, and I have the extreme honor and privilege joining you today just to share a snippet of my story. So if you're on a call and you've heard a couple of times skeptical, I want you to put a 1 in the chat if you are skeptical or you were skeptical. So I think I have Emily and Megan beat. I had 4 years of skepticism under my belt. And that was because I was chronically sick and ill. See, we have 7 children. So we're just adding more kids to the bunch. Like every time you talk to somebody, wait till you get to Cassie. So it was interesting because having 7 children was never on our dream board. It wasn't on our vision plan. We had 3 boys and we were good. Or so we thought. We kind of giggled, that's BC, before Christ. And then as we got older, our last baby, I was labeled geriatric pregnant. Put a 2 if you've ever been geriatric pregnant. Like, what the heck? Who does that to people? I was only 39. But see, what happened in that pregnancy was I did not recover. Had a great pregnancy, amazing labor and delivery. So amazing that my midwife got her video phone out and took videos and pictures because Jackson was born in Cole, which meant he was in his bag of waters in the birthing pool. So he was born in a pool, in the bag of waters, which was amazing. Doesn't ever happen. Nobody sees that. I never got to see the pictures, but can you imagine? You've seen the 10-centimeter thing. Like we all get a day because 10 centimeters is a lot. Well, it's 10 centimeters and then some. So I ended up with something called prolapsed uterus. This is a women's call. So we're going to talk all things women's business. Okay. So prolapsed uterus, just figure out what that means. It's not very pleasant. So not only was I recovering from having a baby, having labor and delivery issues, then 6 weeks later, we'd be in the mission field in Nicaragua. We went to visit a friend of ours that had been on the ground. We were going back. We are the crazy people that sell everything and go in the mission. When we did that, I was still recovering. I want you to hear that part. 6 weeks, baby, on the mission field, in another country. Everybody in the house gets sick. We thought we were going to go stay for the whole summer. But within a matter of our first couple of weeks or months, everybody in the house gets some kind of gastro something. And that's the worst thing to have when you don't have any restrooms and you're literally hiking through the jungles. Or they do give you a toilet and it's like a little hole in the ground. It's not even a bucket, it's a hole. So we ended up coming home from that trip really sick. Everybody else recovered except me. I just kept getting worse and worse. I'd end up in the emergency room for the very first time about 6 weeks after we got home. And I got my first diagnosis. You need vitamins and probiotics. Okay. What does that look like and where do I go to find them? Well, I went to the local over-the-counter grocery, bought the most expensive thing on the market because I thought that has to be good for you, right? Spent a lot of money on things that didn't work. And during this time, I watched friends have amazing transformations on Plexus. They were drinking their little pink drinks and having the best time, having so much fun, recovering while they had just had babies too. And I was over here getting worse and worse and worse. So I want you to see my little couch. I lived on this couch for 4 years. For 4 years, I was just surviving. I would go from being just not only sick and tired, but bald from losing all of my hair to autoimmune disease, from being extremely fatigued, chronic, countless medical appointments and no answers. So finally, I got to the end of my rope. I'm like, enough is enough is enough. Have you ever been there? Like you heard Emily say, you know, crying in the closet. Done that. You get to the end of your rope and you're like, I'm done. I don't have a plan B. Still today, 5 years later, there is no plan B. It's all or nothing. Plexus is gonna work or I'm gonna make it work. And guess what? It worked. I got over myself. I got over my skepticism. I gave the products a run for their money. And in a month, I was pooping. Amen for poop. Listen, we don't talk enough about poop, but when your babies are little, you monitor their poop. I don't know at what point we stop, probably teenagers. We probably stop monitoring poop when they're teenagers. But it's not normal to not go to the bathroom. And that was me forever. I was so full of, you know what, that when Kenny would tell me you're full of, it was true. It wasn't an argument. I was literally full of it. And I ended up in a matter of a year going from surviving on the couch to thriving, having lost 70 pounds, all of my hair grew back, and all of those symptoms and all of those issues that had been tied to leaky gut, to a bad candida overgrowth, to chronic illness were starting to resolve. 5 years into my journey, you can't not fall under conviction. So you got to hear Emily share, you got to hear Megan share. It's a beautiful thing that happens when you actually start to feel different, because all of a sudden, you in turn become a walking billboard. And it doesn't even have to do with weight. I want you to hear this. It's not about the number on a scale that people recognize most. It's the person they see transforming in front of them, who you're becoming in the process. So who we're becoming in the process is we took that little opportunity to share and limit and get our products covered, which was a huge savings for us on a postman salary, to now building an international global business of e-commerce, which sounds crazy to me today to actually say out loud. And if I had heard it 5 years ago, I would have been super skeptical. But again, we're here tonight to raise your level of understanding and awareness, educate you, empower you, encourage you, and equip you, because mamas, all too often, we put ourselves on the back burner. We take care of everybody but ourselves. So that's a snapshot, a little bit of my story, but I want you to hear from my friend Chandler. So Chandler, will you share a little bit more about your story and what Plexus has done for you?
Yes, friend. Thank you. That was an amazing story. I'm Chandler Sanderson. I live in Fort Worth, Texas. I am a mom to 2 littles. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old. So we're in the very, very busy season of toddlerhood, potty training, temper tantrums, all the fun things. And I have been truly just so honored to be able to stay home within the past 4 years since my daughter was born. And it was all because of Plexus. I never, ever, ever thought that this would be my trajectory. Just because of our finances and where we were when this all began. So I want to paint a picture kind of what led up to my decision to try Plexus, and then what has transpired since. So growing up, I was very, very healthy. My dad was a chiropractor, so we were raised with the functional mindset. I actually ended up pursuing degrees in college that kind of aligned with that: nutrition, sports medicine, all the things. I was like the epitome of health in college. Okay. I was not the girl who like got cookies every day and ate fried burritos. I didn't eat at the calf. Like I literally would take cans of tuna, like just tuna by itself, and put salt on it and eat cans of green beans and take like a bag of raw spinach. And that was my lunch. And it was because it's not because I wanted to eat that. I did not like it. It's because I was obsessed with trying to look a certain way. My entire life, I struggled with my physique, the way I looked. I struggled with my weight. I was always very puffy. And I just really struggled to find confidence. And so I punished myself most of my life, with really harsh dieting, really harsh exercising, to the point that it became unhealthy. My parents, I remember, were really concerned about me all through high school. I had some eating disorders that kind of transpired from it. And needless to say, it was just not a healthy way of living, but I truly felt like I could figure out all of life's problems with diet and exercise alone. Shortly after college, I graduated and came from a very, very, very active season of life in college where I was working multiple jobs, exercising every day, waiting tables every night. So like I was so active, to getting my first job out of college. And I sat on my rear for 8, 9, 10, sometimes 11 hours every single day. I was in a season of very, very, very high stress. I moved to Michigan, like hundreds of miles away from everyone that I knew and loved, worked for a really toxic boss, and truly just hated my job. So I found myself super addicted to caffeine. I found myself shoving cookies and candies and all sorts of junk into my drawer because I could not function. I couldn't focus on the task at hand. I could not sit still. It just was a hard change of pace for me, and not being active, being stressed, it was really hard for me. My weight started spiraling. My stress was through the roof. I found myself getting sick what felt like every other weekend. And my periods had become like crippling. I never really dealt with any type of menstrual irregularity in college. But in this specific season, my periods were out of this world. And yes, nothing is TMI here, by the way. We talk about everything. My flow was so heavy. Sometimes they were uncontrollable. I had to call in sick to work multiple times because I literally could not get out of the bed. I also didn't have I didn't have the money to take myself to the emergency room. I didn't have the money to take next steps and try to figure out what the heck was going on. But I was miserable. I felt like not just the week or sometimes 10 days that my cycle was going on, but like for the entire week leading up to my period. And so when you think about that, that's half my life. Half of my life, I felt like I was just being robbed by my menstrual cycles. And then the biggest thing, y'all, was my constipation. Jenna kind of touched on that. I have been constipated since I was a child, and I just thought that was the way God designed my body. I bought the most expensive probiotics. I took all the fiber pills. I made all the fiber snacks. I took laxatives every single day, and 90% of the time they did not work. So lots of issues. I moved to Texas and I got engaged to my now husband. And I knew that something had to change, but truly I didn't know where to start. I thought I had all the resources. I thought I knew all the answers, but what I had been doing was not working. I'm very faith-led in my life, and I believe that God gives us perfect gifts at the perfect timing. He introduced me to a friend through church who introduced me to my now sponsor with Plexus. I was probably the most skeptical person on the face of the earth. I wanted nothing to do with network marketing. I had seen it done wrong very many times. And honestly, I just didn't want to be that girl trying to hustle vitamins out of the trunk of my car looking like a total loser. I was pretty proud of my career. I made a decent income and I worked for a good company at the time, and I thought things were going okay. I caved and I started the products simply because I was desperate. I knew things had to change for my wedding. And truthfully, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months into the products, I did not even recognize the person in the mirror. For the first time in my life, I was seeing abs. I had lost 30 or 40 pounds in 6 months. I was doing all the things still, diet, exercise, and truly Plexus was the missing link that my body had needed for 25 years. I wasn't sneezing all the time. I wasn't needing my allergy pills every single day to mute my symptoms. And so as a byproduct, I wasn't getting sinus infections like clockwork, which had been routine most of my adult life. Using the bathroom at least once a day, sometimes 3 times a day, y'all, that makes me want to cry, because if you've ever been constipated, I would go 7, 8, 9, 10 days sometimes without pooping. And I cannot tell you the level of pain I experienced. And so just going to the bathroom every day alone was like enough for me. I was like, I'm a lifer. I'm sold. I don't care what's in these products. I will never stop taking them because I get to poop every single day. So about that time when I noticed all these health changes, I thought, you know what? If they work this good for me, there has to be somebody else out there that it can work this well for. I made a decent income, but I didn't love my job. I never had a passion. I was working for Smuckers at the time, and I did not have a passion for what I did. I worked a lot of hours. I traveled a lot, and there was just a missing piece for me. I saw my friend Jordan, who was ranking up. She was working towards earning her free Plexus Lexus. She had just earned, I think, a trip for Hawaii for her and her husband. And her income far surpassed what I was making with corporate sales. And I thought, dang, if she can do that, like, I think it's possible I could do this too. So I started sharing very organically. I called my mom, I called my sister, I made my first post. I was terrified, honestly. I was sweating, I was red. Like, I was like, what if people tell me no? What if people think I'm a loser? Like, what if they don't like me? I know all the thoughts, y'all. We've all been there, but truly just stepping out in faith, trying something scary has snowballed into the biggest blessing of our life. I mentioned I've been home now for 4 years. My husband and I have gone on a trip every single year. We have paid off well over $100,000 of debt. It has blessed us financially in ways that I cannot even explain. But truly for me, the piece has been the community. I've met so many women here that I think I've been praying for so many of these women for most of my life. Just authentic relationships and genuinely people who want to rally with me, want to support me and call me in times of need. I can't even tell you how this community has showed up for me. And we have been able to do things together, go through life together, go through vacations together. Our husbands have done different ministry things together. Like, it's just been amazing. And so anyways, thank y'all for letting me share. Sorry for rambling a little bit. I think we have one more lady sharing, Cassie. I'm so excited to hear from you, Cassie. Thank you guys again for letting me share, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend.
Oh, thank you, Chandler. You guys, these stories, I tell you, I just like, I've been doing this 9 years, but still my jaw drops out and I just think, goodness, like, this is what we're here for. This is why we show up and we share our stories. Because I look back 9 years ago, you guys, it's so hard to even recognize what my life was like 9 years ago. I am a mama of 9 kids, ages 6 to 18. We have 4 18-year-olds, which is wild. Our oldest biological is 18, but then we have adopted 3 kids from China that are all 18. So kind of a crazy, like, our kids are all out of birth order, all the things. But when I'll start when I was very, very healthy for most of my early 20s and my early 30s. And I had my first baby when I was 24. And when we had him, it was the best thing ever, right? But about a year into it, I thought, man, like, this is my first kid. I know nothing about motherhood, but something's not right. And what we found over the next few months was that my son was diagnosed with autism. And in that same season, like the same time we were getting the diagnosis, I had walked through 2 back-to-back miscarriages. So at that season in my life, I truly remember most of my days, it's all a blur. It's honestly all a blur. That whole season, my son was completely nonverbal, and I couldn't even leave my home. It was such a hard season, and that lasted really for about 5 or 6 years. And in the midst of that, we ended up having, we had 5 kids under the age of 7, you guys, and my firstborn was on the spectrum. So all of that to say is I had my body, back-to-back pregnancies, nursing. My husband was a pastor. He was a lead pastor for 15 years. My stress levels, because I was caregiving, honestly, I was giving everything to everyone except myself. You probably all know exactly what that feels like. I found myself after the birth of my 5th child, my body didn't recover. Just like Jenna was saying, like, it was like, all of a sudden it was brick wall and everything was gone. I could not function after that. And I feel like it was really my body. I had lived in survival mode for so long that there's a point where it just won't go on. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. And truly, like, I thought, okay, like, I've got to figure out, I can't even get up off the couch. I was parenting from the couch. I was homeschooling my kids. It was a season where I didn't leave the home except to go to church. And we had a 1 day a week, like, community homeschool group. I didn't leave my home otherwise because I didn't have energy. I was truly drinking like 3 to 4 pots of coffee a day just to get by. I was napping when my kids napped. As soon as my husband got home from work, he took over and I went and laid in bed. And I vegged out on Netflix for hours. That was I was truly surviving. we went on, ended up, I mean, I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. I changed my nutrition completely. I got on medication for my thyroid. I was doing all the things. I was on supplements, you guys. I was spending a lot of money at Whole Foods on supplements, doing what I thought I was supposed to do. But what I found, sorry, the lighting keeps shifting as let's try it there. As I was trying, nothing was working. Like little tiny, like, oh, like little tiny baby steps. But in reality, I felt like I was just continuing the downward slide. We ended up, through some time, we ended up adopting our kiddo from China. He was, he was 9 when we adopted him. So I had my 5 kids and he was my 6th. So 6 under 9. And when we adopted him, he didn't speak English, has a lot of special needs. It was like the wake-up call I needed, because here I was bringing in a kid that had high needs. And I just felt like I was failing him. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. Like, I just felt like I was failing my whole family. Like, I felt like I'd always dreamed of being a mom, but here I was, like, they were just watching cartoons and movies most of the day, because I couldn't even pull myself up off the couch. And I thought, I've got to do something. And I went to a naturopath doctor, and we had just moved from Texas to Oregon. I went to this doctor, brand new, and he was like, you can heal your body. Like, your autoimmune, all of these things that you're struggling with, you can actually heal your body. You don't have to live like this anymore. And he's the one who shared with me about Plexus. And he told me to go, he wasn't selling it, which actually, all those skeptics out there, that was me. I was a big skeptic. He told me to go find somebody or to go to the website and order the probiotic and get on it immediately. And so that's what I did. I was like, okay, like, I trust you. I'm literally buying an I think it was $82 probiotic from Whole Foods, but you say this one's going to work. Okay. I got nothing to lose. And I ordered the triplex from a sweet friend. She was actually one of our students when my husband was a student pastor. And within that first week, my husband noticed a difference. I think I was too kind of caught up. Sometimes when you're in your own world, you just don't even notice like the changes. And my husband, he was like, Cassie, like, you're different. Like, you're taking the kids to the park. You're taking the kids out on a walk. That was life-changing for our family in that season. And so I was like, really? Okay. Well, as I started getting onto it, you guys, one of the pieces of my stories is we had moved all of our kids from Texas, where all of our family is, to Oregon for a ministry job. Didn't know a soul. Again, I was homeschooling my kids. I was sick. I was very isolated. And I began to really struggle with mental health issues there. I began to really struggle with depression and with anxiety. That was one of the first things I noticed when I started taking Plexus, was that I felt like I could breathe. I felt like the cloud had moved away from me and like the sun was shining for the first time in years. And so I was like, okay, like, I'm going to give this a true shot, because I know I didn't get here overnight. I'm going to actually give this a true shot. So I told my husband, I was like, all right, like, they say to give it 90 days, let's do it. And he was like, well, how are we going to afford this? Because, like I said, my husband was in ministry, and not only ministry, it was a part-time. We moved our entire family to Oregon to do a part-time church restoration. It was a church that was about to close down, and we came in to revive it. So there was no, no money. And so he was teaching adjunct at the local college. We were on food stamps. You guys, like, it was rock bottom. I think the stress level also, when you're in that season of financial struggle, that totally just depletes your health as well. Well, I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I have no idea how we're going to afford this, but I know I have to be on it. I have to find a way. Never had done network marketing, never was going to do network marketing, but I got on YouTube because that's what you do. And I started just like literally like Googling plexus. And I started watching stories just like you heard tonight. And I watched a story of a woman. She had 4 kids. She was homeschooling her kids, and her story was so similar to mine. And I thought, like, she's just a normal mom. Like, she's just a mom who decided she was going to change her family's future. And so I went to my husband and I was like, listen, I am the biggest introvert in the whole wide world, but this is different. Like, I don't have to throw parties. I don't have to like sell, right? Like, I don't have to push things on people. I was like, I feel like this is so different than anything I've ever been a part of. I think I could do this. It was kind of like what Emily said. It was like this deep, it was something straight from my soul that I was like, I remember that night I said, I feel like I'm called to this, but I don't even have a clue what this looks like, but I just couldn't shake it. And honestly, it wasn't this dream of, going diamond or whatever, 6 figures. It was, if we could earn $1,000 a month, can you even believe what that would do? So that was my goal, $1,000 a month. And when I started sharing, I realized how many of my friends had been silently suffering. And it wasn't something that anyone was sharing about. They were just silently suffering like I was. And so when I opened my mouth, it was a safe space for someone to say, me too. And that really, truly created this business that changed my family and so many other families in ways I could never imagine. Because of that, we got off food stamps, praise the Lord. We got off food stamps very quickly. But 6 months later, we were able to put all of our kids into a Christian private school, which was something that I had wanted for years, but I had never been, I mean, it wasn't even an option. Private, not even an option for our family. And when I saw the kids like blooming, like they were just truly thriving there, it was so cool. Then we were able to, I mean, we went on our first vacation in 15 years. My husband and I, for the first time in 15 years, got to be alone and not, we had never gone on vacation since our honeymoon. Fast forward, all the things is we were able to say yes to 2 more adoptions. We adopted 2 more kiddos from China. And then we had a surprise baby. She's our 9th baby. It was 2 weeks after we signed adoption papers for our 8th kid. We found out we were pregnant with her. So quite fun, all the things. So we have 9 kids under the age of 18, and 4 of them have high medical needs. Plexus covered those adoptions, which international adoptions are well into $30,000. They cover all of their medical expenses, you guys. It's insane to me. Like, I just think like this was exactly, I was called to this because I had no idea 9 years ago what my future was going to look like. With 9 children, I would not be able to do this alone. I was able to retire my husband from full-time work. He's a diamond in the company as well, and we get to do this together. And it has allowed him to, I really, truly, the stress level for him was so high. And I really believed that I was going to lose him. There was a lot of seasons where I thought he was going to have a heart attack from the amount of stress that he was walking through, caring for so many people. And so all of that to say, there's been such a ripple effect through this. And so wherever you're at tonight, I mean, remember, like, most of us started super skeptical. Most of us started like, well, we'll just see what these do. I fully intended, 90 days and we'll just see, right? Never thought I would share beyond $1,000. And you never know. And I just have held on to that question for so long of what if this could change everything? What if this could be the thing that changes your life, your health, your future, your family? And when you are feeling good as a mom, as a wife, as a grandmother, you are able to impact your family for generations to come, to impact your community for generations to come. And so That's why I'm super passionate about health. I'm super passionate about this opportunity because it's not just about us. We put ourselves on the back burner so much, but when we are taking care of ourselves, we can turn around and pour out all the more to those that we love. I am so thankful that each of you came on. I do have the winner for the Farm Girl Flowers. Let's see, I did a quick little random number picker. Let me find where I, dun, dun, dun. Okay. Jennifer Buck, are you on still? I got your number was pulled. So Jennifer Buck, you are the special winner. We will get your information. Jennifer, if you're on, if you would get your information to your closest Jewel upline, and we will get your address and get those flowers sent out. There you are. Yay. If you'll get your information to your closest upline, we will get that. Thank you, everyone. I hope that you all have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend, that you celebrate the women in your life and that you are celebrated as well. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.